Good morning. Hey, everybody's awake, all right? Fantastic. I'm Bill Peel, the LeTourneau director of the Center for Faith at Work here at LeTourneau. And about once a month, I get to bring some wonderful Christians in the workplace to tell you about it, how they integrate faith into their daily work to help prepare you and to help you look ahead to what that's going to look like. Today, we have two wonderful businessmen from Dallas, Texas, that I want to introduce to you. Does anybody ever watch CBS 19 here, by the way? Anybody? Okay, these guys are the owners of CBS 19. Terry London is the president of London Broadcasting Company that operates actually 17 stations and 5 websites in the state of Texas. And these include stations in Dallas, Waco, Temple, Bryan College Station, Tyler, Longview, Corpus Christi, and Beaumont, Port Arthur. And they serve actually 2.7 million Texans in almost a million households, 11% of the Texas population. Before Terry started London Broadcasting, he was the chairman and CEO of Gaylord Entertainment. Does anybody ever heard of the Grand Ole Opry? Okay, Gaylord owns the Grand Ole Opry in Opryland and Gaylord Texan down in Dallas. This little quaint little hotels and properties there. Terry is a certified public accountant by training. He's a graduate of Oklahoma State University, and like our president, by the way, that's exciting. And he also played basketball there. We got some basketball players in here. All right. I understand Terry can still dunk with the best of them. And joining him is Ned Fleming. Ned is one of the investors in London Broadcasting and the founder of Dallas-based Suntex Capital Partners. It's a private equity investment partnership that works closely with management teams to help buy and build mid-market companies. They have committed principles. The capital committed by Suntex comes from educational institutions and institutional investors and university endowments and corporate pension funds and those kind of things. Terry holds a degree from Stanford, an MBA with distinction from Harvard Business School. And he was telling me before we came on board here, he was 32. He founded a company, you engineering students will like this, that actually created the technology that made pressure-sensitive stamps. So thank Ned that we don't have to lick stamps anymore. He was also, is anybody a Texas Ranger fan? Okay, good. Ned was heavily involved in the acquisition of the Texas Rangers. These guys attend church together. They work together in Dallas. And please give a warm LeTourneau welcome to Terry London and Ned Fleming. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks, Bill. I'm the oldest one. I get to speak first. And it's really
He's not
hard.
that much older, by the way.
It's really hard for two of us to only have 30 minutes to speak, but we will make this work. What I was going to say, I'm not going to say now, I don't think. This is a beautiful facility, and Bill mentioned that I had the privilege of being the president of Gaylord Entertainment. We literally owned the Grand Ole Opry, so I was technically president of the Grand Ole Opry. And the Grand Ole Opry, I understand the seats about 2,100 people. Grand Ole Opry seats about 4,400, so it's about twice the size, but it was built in 1974. And those of you that are country music fans are aware of that. But even if you're not a country music fan, country music's the only form of music in the world, in the United States, that truly has a home. It's Nashville, Tennessee. It's the Grand Ole Opry. No other form of music really truly has a home. And on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry, literally, there's a piece of wood. And the Grand Ole Opry started off as a radio program in 1925. 1925 is when radio was, some of you engineers probably know that, 1925 is when radio kind of came in. And so people literally would come to radio stations.
He was not president in 1925.
They would come and they would just watch this radio program. And over the years, the Grand Ole Opry moved to different buildings, and now it's in the new Grand Ole Opry building, which is 1974. But they've moved this piece of wood around. And literally on this piece of wood, the stars of country music have stood on this piece of wood, so it's kind of it's an awesome place to stand. And when you see an artist like a Garth Brooks or Trisha Yearwood, which I've seen personally, stand backstage and come out and stand there and basically be weeping because they have made it to what they have wanted to do in life. It's pretty cool. Now, why do I say that? Because what I really want to talk to you about is my faith and how my faith has impacted my business. Well, for one thing, how many of you are from a small town? I mean small town of under 2,500 people. That's where I grew up. My mom and dad were school teachers. Mom and dad were Christians, but they didn't really bring me to church. My grandmother's one that prayed me in. Okay? 12 years old, I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior. It changed my life. I absolutely know that I know that I know. And my journey, and I started thinking about this last night, my journey is now 50 years. I'm 62. 50 years now as a Christian. And I look back where you guys are. My college days, maybe I wasn't quite as committed as I should have been, but my journey was always there. I always had faith. I always knew that Christ in my life made a difference. I also, and I know many of you are engineers. I have a math degree, math and statistics. Some of you engineers would look down on that. I understand that. My son is an engineer. He's an industrial engineer. Some of you other engineers would look down on that, but he's done well. But how did a kid, the son of a school teacher, two school teachers that actually played sports, and that was good, it was a really impactful part of my life, accepted Christ, and my training, and I think as a Christian, was I didn't want to ultimately become president of some company. All I did was serve and commit and do what I knew to do. I think that part of that is mom and dad were hard workers. My grandfather, I could tell you a whole story about my grandfather, my grandmother. But how do you end up being a math teacher, or math and accounting, and end up being the president of this thing called the Grand Ole Opry, which is a precious thing to a lot of people? And it just amazes me as to how God used me to do that. In Nashville, Tennessee, I had 5,000 employees all over the world, traveled all over the world. And I can tell you that every morning, my quiet time was extremely important because I had to get grounded. I had to get grounded. I had 2 assistants. I prayed for my management team. I prayed that we would do the right things. We had a lot of different businesses, not just the music. The worship team up here, we own Word Records. I actually had the opportunity to buy Word Records, which is the largest Christian music company in the world at the time. And it was an incredible thing. But we also had hotels. We owned Hee Haw, for those of you that remember Hee Haw. We had television stations all over the United States. I had operations in Australia. I needed God in my life. There was no way that you could stay balanced and try to do the right things, because my belief was, and it's based upon my principles that I learned in Scripture from the time I was 12 years old, that you commit and do the best that you know how based upon the principles. And there's been times when it's been tough living as a Christian in the business world. But I also know that I am a Christian in the business world trying to be light and salt. I'm not supposed to be in ministry. I'm not even supposed to be an elder in the church. I know that. My job is to try to make an impact. And it's been an incredible journey. I got out of balance, though, let me tell you. I mean, life sometimes takes you the wrong way. Even with all the success that I had, you get out of balance. I'm still married to the same woman for almost 40 years now, but there was a time where I wasn't sure that was going to happen. And that was in 2001. One of my assistants came to me and she said, "Terry, there's only 14 nights this year that you're not committed to be working somewhere." That's crazy. And a lot of those times Nancy was with me because we went to some of the greatest concerts. I mean, things that you guys would love to do, meet someone, and that's fun. But for us, it was work also. And she was there with me, but we weren't together. And y'all don't really understand that yet. Some of the staff here will understand that. But we decided to leave. I left. Voluntarily, I left that job, which is incredible, the best job in Nashville. Nothing happened in country music that didn't come through my office. But it was time. I also knew, and hearing God, that it was time for me to. We left, and Nancy's born in Texas, and those of you from Texas, you know, where are you from? You're always from Texas, right? We moved back to Dallas, Texas. She's born in Fort Worth, and because I said we will come back to Texas someday, and we did. And our journey now has led us to, I took a full year, did nothing. I was burned out. But now I've started the broadcasting company with this guy's partner. We've been partners and friends for a long time. And I'm having a ball. And we own television stations. And I can tell you that our belief is to make an impact on the communities in which we serve. If you look at all the television stations in this market, I promise you our beliefs are from a Christian standpoint, would be up there as best as you can. There's not everything on the station that I like, but again, it's being salt in the marketplace and trying to do the best you can, as opposed to run away from it and not let that happen because it won't work. We also started a music company. Started again. I said, okay, we've got to do this. We've got a show on television called Troubadour, Texas. It's on CW in this market. I think it's Channel 54. It's on Sunday nights at 10 o'clock. Watch it, okay? You'll see some of my values in that show. Watch our TV station. I hope you'll see a difference in what we do. I can just tell you that from my perspective, those of you, whatever walk of life you're in, which I also say, a lot of your engineers, you do have creativity in you, and do not let the creativity be stolen by somebody else. I absolutely believe, even though I am an accountant, mathematic guy by training, that creativity, having fun and exploring music, art, whatever that might be, it enhances your work life. It allows you to be more balanced in your life, and you will enjoy your life better. But watch that show. Listen to our music. And it'll be an interesting thing. I lead that up now to where we've invested this business, because this is where I came along and partnered with him. And I don't know what he's going to say, but I know he will say something that will impact you. Ned.
Thank you, Terry. It's always a pleasure to be on stage with you. You have such a great history and such a great heart. And I think as a leader, if you take anything from Terry, you lead with your heart, not your head. People don't follow your head, they follow your heart. His heart, they follow. And I think it's real important for young people to understand that. We all have our own stories, right? I mean, everybody here has a story. For me, I was raised by a single mom. She worked in the cafeteria at the high school. Sent 2 sons to Stanford. She told me I could go anywhere I wanted to go. She just didn't have any money to give me to go. I thought, well, Mom, that doesn't really help. But we both went to Stanford. We sent our sister to college. We were tremendously blessed. I was blessed. I grew up in a Christian family. The question that was asked us, I think, was how do you combine your faith in business, and how does that work? And I thought to myself, as I thought about that question, I thought, well, how would you not? Let's just go back to the worship song. What did it say? All-powerful, unimaginable, awesome God. Why would you not want to take him everywhere? I mean, everywhere. I mean, I don't know about any of you all. You all are probably smarter than me, but they talked about not having Christianity in school, and I thought, what am I going to do? I pray before a test, during a test, and after a test, or I'm not going to get through. So to me, it's more, how can you not take the God that's given us all life everlasting everywhere you go? Really, when you really think about it. So I'm always awed by people that think they can separate it, because I don't know how you separate that. I don't know how you separate it in your marriage, with your friends, in your business, at school. It would just be really, really hard for me to separate it. I was talking to the chaplain before we came on, and we were talking about things for the students, what it is that you really think about and you have questions about. And one of the things he said is exactly how to bring faith into business, and then what you do with your life. And I would say, if you really go through and read through the Bible, the highest form of worship is doing exactly what God made you to do. I mean, we wouldn't have wanted Michael Jordan to decide he was a soccer player, would we? Right? I mean, that wasn't what he was made to do. And each one of you were made to do something unique and special in God's eyes. And just doing that and is worship. And I think we lose sight of all that, and we hear all that the media has, the TV stations, about don't do this and don't do that, and how do you live your life and that, and just live it. Live it honestly, live it open, lead with your heart. And what will happen is people will come to you. You won't have to broadcast anything. So for me, I'm always humbled to think people want to know. I would have listened to the worship band for 3 or 4 more songs and skipped me, frankly, because that to me was better. You can just feel the Spirit in here. You all are so blessed if you travel the world. Go to the Middle East. Terry and I were in China together for 2 weeks. And just appreciate what we have in this country. I would say, as I look up on the clock, I would say there are 3 or 4 things I would say to you to think about. If you want to, these are things to jot down and remember. Number 1, who is more important than anything else? Who you work for, who you work with, who your friends are, who you listen to. Who is the important question, the first question in life. If you're around godly people and you work with godly people, what happens? Everything kind of falls from who. And we lose sight of that. We're worried about how much am I going to make? What am I going to do? Where am I going to live? Who is the number one question? Jim Collins wrote a book, Good to Great, I think was the book that's in, and he talked about the first thing to worry about is who's on the bus. So I would say as you go through life and you think about work, figure out who first before you worry about what or how much or what the benefits are or how much vacation you have. If you are around and involved with the right people, everything else will take care of itself. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
I think that the second thing is, and you can go to Proverbs for this, is lazy never works. Okay? Lazy does not work. Hard work works. Hard work, persistence, overcoming, faith works. There are 31 Proverbs. God talks about it. 12 times he talks about and admonishes people, don't be lazy. So really work hard. And a lot of great things happen that you can't see. I mean, if you were to tell me that we would now be, what is London Broadcasting today, the second largest broadcaster in Texas?
Third.
Second, okay. Largest mid-market, third overall,
Yep.
okay, and still growing.
Right.
That we'd have done that in 3.5 years?
Yeah.
I certainly want to do that. I know we've got a board member or two out here that wouldn't have realized that. But through a lot of hard work and faith, it's happened one step at a time. It's like the young man asked the old man when he got to the top of the hill, he said, God, you look so old. How could you ever climb this hill? And he says, I don't know, just one step at a time, I guess. Just take it one step at a time. And lastly, when you get out of college, you never stop learning. Okay? Wisdom is about learning. Having a voracious appetite to learn everything you can about your faith, about your businesses. I mean, Terry's 62 years old, and we have conversations about where technology's going.
I have my iPad.
He's better with technology than I am. Everybody that knows me knows that. But always be learning about your faith, learning about your business, learning about your partners, learning about your wife or husband. Never, ever stop learning, because wisdom is one of the keys to life. And wisdom and faith really connect those dots. And I am always surprised when I was the first business school class to have a portable computer. And if you unplugged it and you took the battery, I think you had about 60 minutes of time, and you had to use little cards. Today, your iPad has more power in it than that computer did. So as things go, never stop learning. Learn, 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 learn. Okay? And if you'll do those three things, it's great. But I think a lot of people don't do that. And if you go and you stay in the Word on a daily basis, all of that's in there. You know, I grew up, my grandmother lived with us. My dad and my parents got divorced when I was 12, and I didn't see Dad again until I was graduated from high school. So my grandmother lived with us, and every time there'd be a problem that would come up, she would go to the Bible. She would say, well, here's what it says. That was the definitive thing. And having that in your life is a huge, huge blessing. Now, as I grew up, I argued with her. I went to school in California and came back with different ideas, and she would still do the same thing. Okay? As it turns out, she was right, I was wrong. Okay? It's that simple. And then as I went through struggles in life and tribulations, which are going to happen, right? They're going to happen in family. They're going to happen in business. They're going to happen personally. My grandmother always said, well, Ned, I don't know why you're worried about that. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you can't sharpen a sword on velvet. And I think, well, what does that mean? Well, if you go to Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpens iron and men sharpen men. Okay? And so as you go through those trials, we're here because we got through those trials. And we didn't give up, regardless of what they were. And I would say, when they come, take them on in a biblical fashion and get through it. And what will happen is you'll get sharper and sharper and sharper in your faith, in your leadership, in your wisdom, and in your business. But I don't know how anybody can ever separate God's greatness and goodness in their life and business. I don't understand it. So for me, I just want to say I'm humbled. I appreciate you all listening. It's a wonderful university as we've come to know it. And for me, I'm probably more blessed just having to think through all this and speak than you all are listening. So I really appreciate it. Terry, what else do we want to talk about?
You know, it just struck me. I never. I don't know, how many of you are going to graduate this year? How many of you? How many of you have a job? I see one hand. All right.
There's one down here.
How many of you are looking for a job and you know, are a little scared that you're not going to get one? You know, it's kind of tough out there. Really tough. I mean, we get more resumes for anybody want to be in the broadcast business. There's more people that want to be in the broadcast business than you can shake a stick at. But you know what? I look at each one of you here. I'm seriously look at you, and I know God's got a plan for each one of you. And all you can do is enjoy every day, even though it might be tough, but enjoy it and keep searching and looking. I know you're smart. You wouldn't be here. And we need smart people, and we need smart people that love God, and we need them in the sciences and the engineering. I'm telling you, we need them in broadcasting and entertainment. But I know God's got a plan for each one of you. Even those of the year they're sleeping, I know God's got a plan for you. I know we're kind of boring, but
I would say don't worry about where you start. Okay, who watched the 100-yard dash in the last Olympics? Or the 100-meter dash? That shows you how old I am. Anybody watch the 100-meter dash? Anybody knows who was winning after the first 2 yards? 2 meters? No. But how many people know who won? Bolt. Exactly. Okay? So don't worry about where you start. I started out, I was actually in a retail training program in a Piggly Wiggly in Dothan, Alabama. How many people ever even been in a Piggly Wiggly? Well, it's not too bad, okay? My first job coming out of Stanford after graduating from there was I was an apprentice butcher working for a Vietnam veteran that had been caught by the Vietnamese twice and tortured. And that was my first job. And I look back on my days I spent in a grocery store. God, what a great time. How much I learned about people and about things. I can't imagine, as I look back on it, a better beginning. But at the time, I thought, Lord, what are you doing sending me?
He actually met his wife there, so that's...
Well, I was going to say, I actually did. I mean, I go to Dothan, Alabama. I learn more than I can imagine working in the Piggly Wiggly. I meet the love of my life. We've been married 27 years now. Okay, so we're not short-timer. I'm just a rookie compared to Terry. And so don't worry about where you start. It's really having a strong finish that matters. And I think too many people are worried about where they start and how they're keeping up. It's just not a race. Everybody's life is different. Everybody's journey is different. It's not a race. Nobody wins. You live your life the way that you intend. If you're seeking God's will and God's path all along the way, it will be perfect for you in your life. And that's what I hope I continue to do. Both of us have people around us that keep us humble and stable. Probably starts with our wives. And then goes on to my partners and limited partners and friends and family, back to the who, right? And that accountability is important for all of us.
I think I'll leave it with just this. You know what? There's hope. You guys have a great future in front of you. You have a Christian base that most of us didn't have a chance to have this kind of education. So aim high. Believe in God, and your life will be great, okay? Especially the ones sitting on the front row, they get extra blessings.
So God bless everybody and work hard. Above all else, work hard. It'll work out. Thank you.